Book 2, The Book of the Traveler of the Worlds. Canto 1, The World's Dare. Alone he moved, watched by the infinity around him and the unknowable above.
Well, we see that Sri Aurobindo tells us about the unknowable, and I should go through it again because it's not too long. The unknowable is something to us, supreme, wonderful, and ineffable, which continually formulates itself to our consciousness and continually escapes from the formulation it has made.
Mm.
Beautiful. So he says it's not absolutely unknowable, but it's beyond mental knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So the unknowable is beyond, and it can only be a higher degree in the intensity of being of that something.
Mm.
And he tells us, therefore, that it leads us or carries us to a higher fulfillment and a larger truth of what has already been gained by self-vision and self-experience. So we're not there yet, but we have to accept that we will get there. So now we have 3 lines beginning with the word all.
Yeah. All could be seen that shuns the mortal eye. All could be known the mind has never grasped. All could be done no mortal will can dare.
All could, all could, all could, all could be, all could be. See?
Yeah.
Repetition there, it's so important. Why is it so important? Because the eye cannot see it, the mind cannot grasp it, and the mortal will can't even dare it. So clear, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
A limitless movement filled a limitless peace.
What a beautiful line. Huh? A limitless movement. So, how do you get a limitless movement filling a limitless peace? We can't understand that really.
Yeah.
It's beyond the mental understanding. As I see it, is that this movement of the force can fill anything. It can even fill a peace that's limitless.
Mm.
Okay.
In a profound existence beyond Earth's, parent or kin to our ideas and dreams, where space is a vast experiment of the soul, in an immaterial substance linked to ours, in a deep oneness of all things that are, the universe of the unknown arose.
So before we had the unknowable, now we have the unknown. And that unknown is a profound existence even beyond this earth. But it is the parent or we can say, the family member, kin, family to our ideas and dreams. And in that place, in that profound existence, space is a vast experiment of the soul. And it's very important that we realize that this experiment of the soul is what we are going through in a human body. So even in an immaterial substance that is linked to ours, and in a deep oneness of all things that are, in that place, the universe of the unknown arose. And Sri Aurobindo, of course, tells us the unknown is not the unknowable. Need not remain unknown for us unless we choose ignorance. Interesting. Now, let's continue because this is so interesting. See, we have to see that Ashwapati, Sri Aurobindo, of course, in Cantos 3 and 5 of Book 1, has achieved everything, and he is therefore able to begin to climb this stair of the planes of existence. Very, very important.
A self
You're looking very different these days. Little lipstick and very pretty. Thank you. Beauty is important to all of us. Mother says that it's the key to life in many ways. Huh? Good. So,
A
a
self
self-creation.
a self-creation without end or pause revealed the grandeurs of the infinite. It flung into the hazards of its play a million moods, a myriad energies, the world shapes that are fancies of its truth, and the formulas of the freedom of its force.
So we have the word hazard, and
Hazard,
I'm checking it out to be sure. So you'll hear it.
Hazard.
hazard. Yeah,
Not hazards.
The
yeah.
busy traffic entrance was a hazard to pedestrians.
Mm,
Got it now.
yeah,
Got a new word, new pronunciation,
yeah.
and it flung into the hazards. The hazards are the dangers, and even the risks of its play. And what did it do? It flung a million moods and a myriad energies. Myriad is usually 10,000, but it can be just an infinitely great number
Mhm.
also, an indefinite number even. What did it do? Well, it threw or flung, actually, he says, it flung into the hazards of its play the world shapes that are fancies of its truth. And we're seeing that they are also the formulas of the freedom of its force. Now, he's only on the first stage of this climb up the world stair. So he's not gotten into any of these places where there are little lives, greater lives, and all of that. So he's just telling us what he's seeing from that first plateau, let's call it. And he's seeing that this self-creation that doesn't have any end or even any pause. And Mother tells us this when they asked her, "Well, Mother, when we have the supermind, is it finished then? Is there no more evolution?" Mother said, "Evolution will never stop.
Oh,
We'll go from supermental into Satchitananda and then above and above and above." That for me is so extraordinary. So it's a self-creation. It's the divine creating himself and revealing the grandeurs of the infinite. And then he says, it flung into this force, flung into the hazards of its play, this million moods and this myriad energies, even the world shapes, the shapes of this world. Out of the formless, he has created form, and he has created shapes. And those shapes can be human, animal, bird, insect. So they're the fancies of its truth. Fantasy here is a caprice, an idea. We could say an illusion, but it's not an illusion here. It's actually sort of a whim that the divine is playing in this magnificent game. And the formulas, even those he's thrown to us. Again, alliteration, formulas, freedom, force. And the formulas of the freedom of its force. Beautiful. Okay, carry on.
It poured into the ever-stable's flux, a bachic rapture and revel of ideas.
Okay, two words here you've got to learn. Bacchic,
Bachic,
Bacchic, Bacchic, and revel, revel,
revel.
revel. Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
It poured into the ever-stable's flux, a Bacchic rapture and revel of ideas, a passion and motion of everlastingness.
Quite a bit here. So we have what seems to be a paradox again. An ever stable that has a flux, that has a movement, a constant frequent change, a fluctuation. So it pours into that ever stable's flux. So we have to understand this as that in the ever stable, it can also hold motion, movement. But when something is stable, it's not easily moved.
Mhm.
You see the paradoxical nature of the mind. It's so beautiful. Ever stable, something that doesn't move, but there's a flux into that ever stable. Now, the Bacchic rapture and revel of ideas, this is important because in the ancient um, cults, Bacchic related to Bacchus.
Bacchus.
And Bacchus was the god of drinking
Mhm.
and carousing and intoxication.
Mhm.
And so we see that it is a kind of rapture that is so vast and wild, riotous, and it's a revel of ideas. Now, we need to look a little bit about these ideas because in the supramental manifestation, Sri Aurobindo says the idea is not a reflection of the external fact. So we may have an external fact that the earth moves around the sun, but the idea exceeds that. And the fact is only a partial reflection of the idea that has created it.
Mhm.
Okay, so the idea, capitalized, obviously capitalized, is a synonym of Sri Aurobindo for the supramental. He calls it often the real idea,
Yeah.
or the Gnostic. But here it is capitalized idea. Good. Now,
There, there rose unborn into the unchanging surge thoughts that abide in their deathless consequence, words that immortal, last though fallen mute, acts that brought out from silence its dumb sense, lines that convey the inexpressible.
so very, very important. So let's go through the first line. There rose unborn. So it's something that's self existent if it's unborn. It's not born. Into this unchanging surge. So again, we have sort of a paradoxical feeling here. How can you get something rising unborn into something that's unchanging? And Sri Aurobindo does this to lift our consciousness to not not retain our small box thinking, to break it open. And he does it in He does it again and again throughout Savitri. He's telling us these things in different words, in great beauty, and in mantric force, their truth. So, what has risen into the unborn are the thoughts that abide in their deathless consequence. They're immortal, they're deathless, and also these words that are immortal, even though they're fallen mute, and acts that brought out from silence its dumb sense, its silent sense. And he tells us a lot about the word, and I think I've read some things to you about the word before. So these words are immortal, and even though they may be fallen mute, for example, when I research modern British English, they don't accept many of Sri Aurobindo's words. They were from a much earlier time, and now we have all these kinds of, what shall I say, these can't be words.
Yeah.
And computer words and things like that. So, but his words are immortal, and they will always last. His acts also brought out from the silence its silent sense. And this silence is something that he tells us, that silence of the mind, peace or calm in the mind, are three things that are very close together and bring each other. Very important for us to remember that, especially me. Silence means freedom from thoughts and vital movements when the whole consciousness is quite still. And then he says to us again, it is on the silence behind the cosmos that all the movement of the universe is supported. Everything is supported by that silence behind the cosmos. Every act we do, every thought we have, are all supported. Of course, we know that they're in the Akashic records also, so they never disappear. And so we see also that there are these lines, and this is pure Savitri, that convey the inexpressible. Just what we've been talking about. Now he puts a full stop after that line. Oh, so beautiful. Okay, carry on.
The eternal stillness saw in unmoved joy his universal power at work display in plots of pain and dramas of delight, the wonder and beauty of her will to be.
Yeah, I would just say the eternal stillness saw in unmoved joy, his universal power. Okay, this is the eternal's universal power at work display in plots of pain. So it's displaying in these plots of pain and these dramas of delight the wonder and beauty of her will to be, creation's will to be. Good.
All, even pain, was the soul's pleasure here. Here all experience was a single plan, the thousandfold expression of the One.
He's seeing this now on this stair of consciousness. And he is seeing this universal power. And it is at work, and it is displaying in these plots of pain and dramas of delight. What is it displaying? The wonder and beauty of her will to be, creation's will to be. So you can go on a little bit more.
All, even pain, is so. Yeah.
Here, all experience was a single plan. What is the single plan to you?
The plan of the eternal.
Of the evolution and of the final, at least final for us, moment is when we reach the supermind, the supermental, or such an another. Okay, all experience was a single plan, and all experience is the thousandfold expression of the one. Now we're clear. Huh? See, when we go through it a little bit carefully, we get the insight a little deeper. Okay, carry on.
All came at once into his single view. Nothing escaped his vast intuitive sight. Nothing drew near he could not feel as kin. He was one spirit with that immensity.
So now we're seeing that Ashwapati is looking at this universal cosmic manifestation. And he's seeing that everything is simply the thousandfold expression of the one. And the one is capitalized here, of course, it's the divine. And then, as a result of his being able to do that, everything comes into a single view. Everything. And he puts a semicolon there because he wants to tell us two more things or three more things. All came at once into a single view, semicolon. Nothing escaped his vast intuitive sight. Nothing drew near he could not feel as kin. He was one spirit with that immensity.
Mm.
So beautiful. I think a few more lines and then you can read the whole thing.
Images in a supernal consciousness, embodying the unborn who never dies, the structured visions of the cosmic self, alive with the touch of being's eternity, looked at him like form-bound spiritual thoughts, figuring the movements of the ineffable.
Yeah, I would say looked at him. These structured visions of the cosmic self, the images in the supernal heavenly consciousness that embody the unborn who never dies. You see, if you're born, you have to die.
Yeah.
And even the greatest avatars had to die. Buddha had to die, Christ had to die, Krishna had to die, and they all died in pain.
Mm.
Interesting. Sri Aurobindo had to give up his own body. He was only in his early 70s.
Yeah.
But he had to do it, to put that supermental force into the earth and then leave it to Mother for 23 years to work out all the workings of it into the cells of the body. So, images in a supernal consciousness, these images embody the unborn who never dies, obviously, and the structured visions of the cosmic self. Well, Sri Aurobindo tells us that everything in the cosmos has a clearly defined structure or organization. Each of us have our own singular path, and yet there is some predestination in our path. There is, of course, the past, which has to be done away with, and only taken those things that help the psychic being grow. There's the present, in which we confront karma and fate and all these things, and the conquest or the growth, inner growth, allows the psychic being to take that with it into the next phase when the body is no longer able to make progress. So these structured visions of the cosmic self are alive with the touch of being's eternity. And they look at him. They looked at him like form-bound spiritual thoughts. Form-bound spiritual thoughts that have a shape of a form.
Mm-hmm.
Figuring means, in this case, I think, representing the movement. Yeah, I would think it's representing or symbolizing the movements of the ineffable.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're late, so you have to read. Okay.
Alone he moved, watched by the infinity around him and the unknowable above. All could be seen that shuns the mortal eye. All could be known the mind has never grasped. All could be done no mortal will can dare. A limitless movement filled a limitless peace. In a profound existence beyond earth's, parent or kin to our ideas and dreams, where space is a vast experiment of the soul, in an immaterial substance linked to ours, in a deep oneness of all things that are, the universe of the unknown arose. A self-creation without end or pause revealed the grandeurs of the infinite. It flung into the hazards of its play a million moods, a myriad energies, the world shapes that are fancies of its truth, and the formulas of the freedom of its force. It poured into the ever stable's flux a Bacchic rapture and revel of ideas, a passion and motion of everlastingness. There rose unborn into the unchanging surge thoughts that abide in their deathless consequence, words that immortal last though fallen mute, acts that brought out from silence its dumb sense, lines that convey the inexpressible. The eternal stillness saw in unmoved joy his universal power at work display in plots of pain and dramas of delight, the wonder and beauty of her will to be. All, even pain, was the soul's pleasure here. Here all experience was a single plan, the thousandfold expression of the One. All came at once into his single view. Nothing escaped his vast intuitive sight. Nothing drew near he could not feel as kin. He was one spirit with that immensity. Images in a supernal consciousness embodying the unborn who never dies, the structured visions of the cosmic self, alive with the touch of being's eternity, looked at him like form-bound spiritual thoughts, figuring the movements of the ineffable.
Very good reading. Very good. Namaste.
Nice.